Hello and welcome back to my OOTP series here with the Kansas City Royals. Unfortunately, this year, we hope to make some big strides, and it does not look like that is going to happen. Blake Snell, having another kind of mediocre season. Castillo, who we got in the trade with the Reds and really hoped would be a big impact arm, is having his worst season. Chua's having another bad year, although I guess at least it's better than last year. And Brian Johnson, he's as good as we could at least expect from him. Arrieta has been just absolutely awful in 5 starts, so we'll see what goes on there. I did make a few minor trades, so I traded for Jose De Leon because he came cheap. We sent Hanser Alberto to the Blue Jays. We had gotten Alberto in the Rule 5 draft, not this past offseason, but the offseason before that. I think he's a good player, but I think we could potentially use another arm, maybe out of the rotation. Just looking at, how things have been going, I could totally see us needing that. And out of the bullpen, no one's been spectacular, but a lot of people have been okay. That's just kind of how it's been. Offensively, again, kind of a real mix of things. Goldschmidt has been our MVP so far, so although the team overall isn't doing well, it looks like that deal is panning out. We did call up Madrigal, and even though he's not hitting that much, he's being productive in terms of WAR. So that's really his defense and base running on display there. You can see already 13 steals and only caught twice so far in 33 games, so that's pretty good. McGuire's been okay. Gigliotti was out for a while. And Nicky Lopez just got back from a concussion, and he doesn't even have a starting spot. So that's kind of what I was talking about with these, the middle infield depth. It's like we have too much middle infield depth, but at least now we have kind of a legitimate outfield. The other guy that we acquired was Brian Mundell from the Rockies. He was actually in their AAA system, but I just like the ratings that I saw, both from OSA and our head scout. So I'd like to try to see how he can do. He's been terrible, but he's only played 6 games. So yeah, we only give up Trevor Oakes for him. So I'd like to just see how he does, and we'll go from there. Now, if we take a look at the standings before we go to the first year player draft, which is a very important draft, and there's 2 players that I cannot decide on which one to pick. But anyway, for the standings so far, we're 10.5 games out of the division and 9.5 games out of the wild card. Again, I can't say I'm not disappointed. Really hope that this would kind of be a jump year, even if it was just, playing 500. But, we are not playing that right now. So anyway, we've got the 3rd pick in the first year player draft. You can see that for the first overall pick, the Marlins selected a pitcher. I don't think he looks that great. OSA thinks he looks a little bit better, but even they aren't really that high on him. And then the Rays, was it? The Rays selected the center fielder. He looks like a stud, so, no surprise that he went 2nd overall. For the 3rd overall pick, I was taking a look at this because this is a pretty important pick for our team. If we look at the hitters here, just among hitters, I don't really see anyone. So Bowser, he's a good player, don't get me wrong, but we don't need another shortstop. And the center fielders that are here, they have some intriguing ratings, but no one really jumps out. I think we're going to be drafting a starter, which has its ups and downs. Certainly pitchers are more unpredictable, and that's kind of probably what makes me decide on one of these guys, is that with pitchers especially, like a pitcher out of high school, they're very risky because, first of all, they could get injured, but second of all, you don't really know what they're going to be like. So for that reason, even though I think I like Liam Norris's skills a little bit more, I'm leaning towards Kenan Kanowski. Oh boy. But there's a lot of things I just like about him. He's an extreme ground ball pitcher who throws 97 miles an hour sidearm. That all there is like, wow. And I like his personality more as well. Focuses and concentrates on the right things. But there are some real risks here. That control, especially when you look at the OSA ratings, is questionable. But the stuff and the movement is top of the line. 3 really plus pitches. 2 of them are already plus pitches. And the stamina is good enough. Now, the other positive is that he played in great competition level and did really, really well. You can see 12 strikeouts per 9 innings. The main thing for him is just going to be walks, but I don't think he'd give up any home runs, basically. He's an extreme ground ball pitcher. Look at the movement, and he throws 97, and it's sidearm. That is some really like nasty stuff. And like I said, he's 21 years old, so he could really make an impact, pretty quickly. And I could kind of bet more that he would make an impact. I think the ratings on Liam Norris, if he really comes out to be that, then he will be better than this other pitcher. But I just think it's a safer bet to go with Kennan. So for the third overall pick, we're going to go with him. The only other guy I was considering was Danny Sullins. Great stamina, really good overall. Really couldn't, go wrong with him, except the OSA ratings, which are unfortunately significantly lower. So that kind of turned me off from him. But anyway, we're going to go with Kennan. So we're going to draft him as our third overall pick. So we are back here. It is actually now the fourth round. And what I didn't realize is Chris Davis was actually a compensation pick. I thought that if you signed a player beyond a certain date, we actually signed him just after the beginning of the regular season, that he wouldn't be a compensation signing. So that's kind of my fault, but that's okay. Third round picks aren't normally the best. And I'm hoping that we can get a compensation pick out of him after this year, because as you can see, he is looking for a big contract that is much more than 1 year and $15 million. Of course, the other draft pick we lost was from Goldschmidt. I have no problem having lost that pick, although it's a little disappointing to be sure. In terms of who is left, it's a little bit confusing as to who to go with. So there is this Esteban Barella. I don't really see him as anything special, except he can play a lot of different positions. So he could be a utility guy coming up. He's already 22 years old, so again, definitely a high floor kind of player, maybe a low ceiling. Can also play the infield well, so I would not be opposed to drafting this guy just as a utility option. This Nate Presley also looks very, very good. Unfortunately, he is an impossible signing, and I know I've had a lot of trouble signing impossible guys, plus his OSA ratings are just, they're a little too low. And of course, Whitney El Amin as well looks very, very good, another impossible signing. So I think given all that, we are going to go with Barella. I just think that, might as well get some extra depth. Now, in the fifth round, I would not be opposed to just trying to grab one of these guys. And the reason is that we happen to just have a lot of money to sign people this year. As you can see, we only have $2.8 million in demanded money, and we have $15.7 million in available budget room. So to me, you might as well just try and give a guy a ridiculous amount of money and see if he accepts. Yeah, so I think we're going to do that here in the fifth round just to see what we can do. So here in the sixth round, our scout wants us to draft an impossible signing. Obviously, he looks good, but I don't think we're going to get two impossible guys. So thinking maybe this Eric Harbuck. Our scout likes him. Our OSA ratings do not. But, I think he could be a pretty good hitter if he happens to develop that way. So we'll go with him. Could also play it safe and go with this Sincere Thiam. That seems to me like maybe a slightly later round than this. I don't know, though. I don't really see anyone, so I think I'm going to go with Thiam. And I'm just going to let my scout do the rest. So very interesting, taking a look at the draft roundup, you can see that Liam Norris, who we're really thinking about, actually dropped to 11th overall. So that is interesting. Maybe that means I made the right choice, although who knows where Kennan would have landed. All right, so we are back here on July 2nd. So good news, we were able to sign all of our draft picks, which is great. Today we have the international amateur free agents who hit the draft pool. One thing I did want to mention is our international free agent from last year, who I was so excited about, unfortunately seems to have fallen off of a cliff. You can see that his potential ratings are still okay, but I was so excited about that guy because his contact was like 75. Everything was 75 except for the discipline, which was like 50. It does not seem to be like that anymore. So I guess I'm going to be a little bit more cautious when it comes to who I am signing. So, with that in mind, I'll probably just look for, people who generally look good. One guy who caught my eye was Luis de Sarden. Good contact and avoid K, good speed. Not necessarily the defense, although I like to take a look at his outfield. Yeah, you can see his outfield's okay. Range is not great, but anyway, I think offensively he could definitely help a team. Otherwise, there's this Jorge Corona, who our scout is really high on. OSA not so much, so I don't know, maybe we'll see what he wants. Yeah, let's just offer him the $5 million. I feel like that's who I'd kind of want to throw my money at. No guarantees that he would be anything, but we will see, I guess. All right, so we are getting near the trading deadline here on July 22nd. Taking a look at the All-Star team, let's see, we can see that Harper won the MVP of the All-Star game. No surprise there. And if we take a look at the All-Star rosters, let's see how many Kansas City Royals there are. I would not be surprised if it's just one. Yep, so we do have Paul Goldschmidt, who has been very, very good. But that is all. That's the only All-Star we have. So a little bit sad there. In other also sad news, we've got some injuries. So Blake Snell is out for about a month with a strained oblique. Jose De Leon, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but he is out with bone chips in his elbow. Jake Junis had a torn flexor tendon. And Josh Pennington, of course, still has that shoulder inflammation, although he has had that for quite a while already. So we did sign our international free agent guy. We've gotten a lot of trade requests for him. So hopefully that means he's good. But yeah, it's this guy, Jorge Corona. I don't really think he's ready to be called up to rookie ball. But because that other guy who we got last year that looked so good, Vitantino, just fell off a cliff in the international complex, I just figured I'd call this guy up and see what happens to his ratings. So why not? So I'm not sure if I'll be doing any deadline deals. I don't really think we're buyers. We're a little bit too far out of the race, and I don't really know who anyone would want here. No one's going to want a Jake Arrieta with a 5.8 ERA. I don't see anyone. All right, so we are here at the trading deadline. I really tried to comb through and find a deal, but I just could not find anything. Basically, we have 3 first basemen and 3 shortstops. And, we're sticking one of them at second base. Yeah, I mean, I don't like having, Nicky Lopez just sit on the bench. He's got good ratings. He should be able to get something back, but there is nothing. I mean, there is nothing at all. We're just going to keep him for now. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode. Obviously, a frustrating season, and hopefully we finish strong, and hopefully our prospects continue developing, and we can maybe in the offseason try to get rid of some of this surplus middle infield. But I will see you guys in the offseason.